B. Frank Network.
Welcome to a very special episode of H&A Episode. With me is someone I adore every single fashion choice she makes. Absolutely. Even the burkas. I know. I have them. I was like, ooh, we have the same Birks. And Alison Leiby. Welcome. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. I'm
God.
so glad you appreciate my socks and sandal fashion.
It's mostly the jeans.
Yeah, I'm a denim person. Like I'm wearing jeans on jeans right now, which is just kind of my go-to.
Are you going to do the crisscross waist jean?
You know, I think my body 6 years ago would have looked great. I don't know that my post-pandemic body is ready for like a crisscrossed hem on the fly. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll see what happens.
I feel like they're very forgiving.
That's true.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of hormones, and so I have like my belly keeps like doing this weird thing, and I'm like, I need something that I can. And after 10 a.m., if I take a sip of water, it will forgive me for those.
Yes. Yeah. I wish I could just be what I feel like when I wake up in the morning all day. Why can't that? I like look in the mirror and I'm like, killing it. And then I like have coffee and I'm like, are you pregnant? What's happening?
Yes, I hate that so much.
I hate it.
Okay, you had surgery over the pandemic.
I did. I was one of those crazy people who was like, no, I'm going to go into a hospital, like not voluntarily, but like not for COVID.
What the?
I did.
Can you explain your back? It was back surgery, right?
I had back surgery. I had a spinal fusion. I'd had 3 back surgeries prior to this, like 10 to 15 years ago. And this was kind of like my final form. This is where like they had been taking out stuff in those surgeries. And like this was like, now we're going to put in metal to replace the parts of your bone and disc that we've been removing for years. So it was
what happened 10 years ago?
I just have I have a bad herniations in my discs. So
oh wow,
they like shatter and then like push out into your spinal column, and so they have to like go get all those pieces so that you're not living in excruciating pain.
Wow.
But then once the disc is gone, you know your vertebrae compress and are flat against each other, and usually there's some cushy disc in there so that like you can bend. And so they went and they put a fake disc in and then like soldered it in with a bunch of titanium screws. I got half an inch taller. It's crazy.
Wait, my dad had his back fused and got 2 inches shorter.
I think it depends on like where in your spine.
Oh,
I don't know. I think that there are different, outcomes can happen, but I got half an inch back that I have lost.
Yeah, at my second wedding, I went to like dance with him, and he had just had the surgery, and I was like, "You're so little."
Yeah, yeah. I guess I got a half an inch back, and it feels kind of crazy to be like no one could notice it ever, but like I kind of do. I think I'm also sitting up straighter because I'm not like in pain anymore, so I'm sure it's those two things combined. But yeah, I had surgery.
I feel like being a badass bitch is also like a way like. You sit up taller. It's like one of those confidence things.
Yeah. Like take up more space.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay. So the last time that you were on, you didn't have titanium in your back, but also you were in like a long-term cash relationship.
Yeah.
It was I have been tortured by this since then because I was like, is she still in this? Did it make it through this pandemic?
No, it ended before the pandemic. Though with like a few like one-off little like, oh, all right, I'm bored and there's no one else in the roster. Like I could get together with this person again. But no, since the pandemic, I've been totally alone and by myself. I have not had any. I mean, like I've like obviously like seen some friends and been out, but like I haven't like relationship wise. It's been like I had an amazing date right before the pandemic, and we had plans for a second date, and those plans were the day that the city was like, nope, shut it down. Everything's closed. And we were like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I'll see you in like 2 weeks. And then it was like, goodbye forever. But we've started like chatting again.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, all right, so maybe we'll just like pick up where we left off, like over the summer or something like that. Like when we're like both, I'm getting my vaccine today. So I'm like very like,
which one are you getting?
J&J.
Oh, the one-shot wonder.
One and done.
One.
I just like signed up for whatever I could get. And like, that's what they said. I was like, great. So I'll be done.
Yeah,
in 2 weeks.
I'm in healthcare. So I was,
Yeah.
They were like right away. They were like, yep, come on in. And also they don't even check. So anybody, they check nothing, no records that you are in the field that you say that you're in. So just go.
Yeah. And now, I mean, as long as you're over 16.
Yeah, you can just get it.
New York, like that's it. Just get it. Just go.
Well, New York is getting crazy because now we can do recreational pot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cuomo fucked up a little bit. So he's like,
yeah.
Here, what do you need to make your
I want I don't want it to be true, but it's like, if there's someone else out there that's got a shitty story about him, which I'm sure they do, like,
yeah,
why don't you get out here? Let's get some more bike lanes. Like, come on.
Let's get this unemployment extended,
Yeah. Right. Like, if ever there was a time to like come forward about a man being shitty, this feels like one that actually like, will result in some positives for the city.
I know. Well, what do you think about the stories that have been coming out about that?
I mean, I've been not super locked into like reading a ton about them.
Mm-hmm.
I was a New York One viewer. I watch New York One all day, every day. That's like my news source. And I just moved to a new apartment that doesn't get Spectrum. And so like, I was like, I feel like I'm never going to find out what's happening in the city again. How do people learn local news without New York One? It's like the only real news source.
Do you feel like it's unbiased?
I feel like it's just like extremely local and like very like they have biases for sure when they talk about certain people. Like it just like is like it's mostly minutia. Like it's mostly like, well, the C train is having a stop repaired, and you're like, this is news. This is news to me. This is what I care about. They're like, there's a new deli opening up in Forest Hills. And you're like, yep, this is great. Like that's where I got a lot. Like they would show all of his like, they talk about him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so like once I stopped having New York One, I kind of like would just see headlines and be like, oh, and I've read like some of the stuff of like I think he's a creep, and I think like creep behavior is usually indicative of the possibility of like worse stuff being behind it. So I'm like, well, he seems like and again, like I am not literate in those stories, like in a way that I could really comment and be like,
I'm trying to grow as a feminist. I always take a few steps forward and then I take a couple giant leaps back because I feel like we as women need to be better to one another. A lot of like, there's too much mean girlness that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And either we need to lean into it and just be like, yeah, there's mean girlness and we should own it and just know that it's a part of it and not take it so sensitively, or get people to stop doing it, which I don't know if either of those is a good solution, but these are the things.
Realistic.
I'm trying to find solutions because I feel like what we're doing as women is working, but it's also not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like in what regard? Like as an example.
Okay, so Jordan Peterson, do you know he?
Very, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know what he's up to now, but I used to have to like. He came up a lot at a job I worked at, like when I was working in the opposition, because like we talked about kind of the alt-right and like those thinkers.
Whew. Yes.
Not great.
It's not good.
Not great.
Not good. He was like, oh, there is no gender wage gap, but I do have a client that just won a big case for herself. She won it for herself as an attorney. That she was.
That's amazing.
I know. I was so proud of her. So I'm like, yes, there absolutely is, because people are winning cases. So
my friend just sued her employer for it and won.
Amazing.
Yeah, so badass.
Some of the things he does, I mean, no one's wrong all the time. What is it? A broken clock is right twice a day. So thank you. I was like, once in the afternoon.
Twice, 3.
So he does make some good points. And I would say some as in like 2 of his thousands. So I'm trying to like see both sides. I'm trying to just grow as a person. And
I find like somebody like him to be particularly insidious because he has some common sense economics points in his like overall philosophy that like let you be like, well, he can't be that bad because he believes in this very basic tenet that makes sense of economic principle or whatever. And it's like, no. Like him saying that and putting that forward does not that does not make it okay for him to believe all of these other things. Like, I feel like that, like those like common sense things that people agree with that he says that are not original ideas usually are just like allow the door to stay open for him to be like, also, you should only eat meat and women aren't real or like whatever he believes. Like, it's like, I don't, it's just like, because then people are like, but he said taxes are good. And it's like, okay, well, yes, they are. But like lots of people say that. And lots of people also like believe in like, gender equality.
And he's like, oh, he breathes oxygen. He said it. Me too.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah. I'm dating someone who brought his book.
Oh no.
I know. And I was like, oh no. Is this are we done? Is it like,
Ooh, I mean, maybe.
I know. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just try and listen to the other side here. Have you ever dated someone that's on the other side?
No, I mean, I think like certainly not, in the last 4 to 5 years where like I think politics and culture wars quotes and like that like things were as divided where like it was actually more of a topic of conversation that I would like recognize that we were so different. I think like 10 years ago, I don't know. Also like in your 20s, I don't think you should have opinions. So I'm just like, what were my politics? I mean, like I was always like a super liberal, but like who was or wasn't? I didn't know anything. I had like no savings account. And like not a job. I didn't have a job. Like what could I possibly be contributing to society thought wise? Like truly nothing. Not that you need a job to be valuable, but like I didn't know how the world worked when I was 24. So like how could I even guess if the person I was dating understood anything?
I love how we're already at that age. We're like, oh, how old are you? You don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's just like an instant. I'm like, okay, well, call me when you have to file your own taxes and it's not just one W-2, It's like I didn't know how good I had it when I was that young.
this
easy things were.
Young lady that I talk to back and forth on Instagram every once in a while, she wrote this long thing about how now she's a shaman and a healer and she's been through so much trauma. And then I just wrote, how old are you? Like I was like, I think she's 20.
That's the most important question to ever ask someone. It just is.
It is.
So yeah, I don't really think that anyone I've dated has had like wildly different politics than me. I think there have been people that are probably like closer to the center or like maybe even to the right of it in the past, possibly. But like also at a time when like it was different to be a little bit conservative. Not that it's ever been different. And I personally believe that like conservatism is based in a lot of really terrible things, but like it wasn't talked about that way.
Right. It was
like now that we're like very aware of like what it means to actually like believe in those values and what they really are. I think I think a lot of people that I know or dated or like slept with 8 years ago would be like, oh yeah, but no, that's not, that's just my parents' tax bracket was kind of dictating my politics. And now I understand racism or,
yeah.
I think that that's like the more likely. I don't know that I've dated anybody who would have like had a Jordan Peterson book, but also like, I don't know. There are some guys who I like didn't know enough about.
Yeah.
So I can't say for sure that was the case.
It's interesting. I just held on to it for a while. I just was like, okay, so why do we have this book?
Yeah. Where did this come from?
Did you buy it? Did you add into his bank account for this? Yeah. I was like, just if you want to know his feeling, just listen to his free podcast. And that way you won't have to give him any money.
Any money.
None.
Any money.
He deserves zero. I can't imagine. He's been with his wife for so long. She had cancer. I was like, what kind of woman stays with someone like that?
I can't begin to get into the headspace of like what you would need to be okay with or like kind of like portion off into the back of your brain and be like, don't access this in order to stay with somebody.
Percocet,
like
you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe she's just like super drugged. I mean, it's very possible.
I dated a billionaire for 4 years and I probably could have kept it going had I had access to recreational narcotics like Percocet. If I would have known about that, all I had to do was call and say I have a plane fear and they would give me Xanax. I could have made it.
Yeah.
I could have done it.
You could have done it. You could have done it.
Okay. So this dude, what makes you...
Okay, I really want to talk about the dude But first, before we do that, I need to do a quick ad read from one of our favorite sponsors, Best Fiends. That is Best Friends without the R, Best Fiends. It is just an awesome adult strategy game that you download for free onto your little hand computer. It's awesome. I am often in that transition with my boyfriend right now, where he is in town for 3 weeks and then goes back home for a week. And for that first couple of days, I really don't know how to occupy my time since I don't have someone annoying me 24 hours a day. So I pull out the Best Fiends, and it really helps me out. It's so fun. It never gets boring because there's so many interactive new things happening on it. It's always updated. So you ain't never gonna win this thing. It's amazing. So I'm obsessed with it. And it's really completely available to you through Apple on Google Play. So you just go to the Apple App Store or go to Google Play and download Best Fiends free today. So again, that's on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. And that's Friends without the R, Best Fiends. So just make sure to go get it. If you love adorable, cartoonish, little fun characters that you get to grow into your own little adults. It's so great. So just go grab it. It also helps the brain. I think it's kept my mental clarity because of all the strategery that you have to use to get rid of all of the different things that they have in there. It's just like a little math puzzle. Anyway, so go grab it on the Apple App Store or on Google Play at Best Fiends that's Friends without the R. All right. Okay. So now I want to get back to this dude.
I don't want to jinx it, but because you're very particular. You have everything about
and all of my
everything. I love that about you. Honestly, I feel like
thank you.
Even the food choices, I'm like, you're so passionate about every single choice that you make. And it's so like, if I was on that side, I would be very attracted to you.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants, if you guys want to see a really cool Instagram, go that has really good choices of food around the city.
It's true. I mean, my best friend is a chef, so I think that helps. But my friend recently, we were talking, and I was like, "Am I nice? Like, am I a nice person?" Like, he was like, "Well," and I was like, "Okay, well, that's not a good start." Like, it should be an instant. Of course you are. And he framed it. He was like, "You're an extremely specific and particular person in what you like, and so like you know what you want and you know what you think is good. And like when people agree with that, like you are very close. You can be very close to them. But like it's why your standard, like you will accept nothing less than what you have chosen. And like that's kind of hard to deal with." And I was like, okay. He's like, "It's what makes you a good joke writer." And I was like, great. Cool. Well, that puts money in the bank. So I'm personally like fine with that. Yeah, I am pretty particular.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So before we get into how you become so particular, can you go over your resume? You worked for Maisel, Marvelous Miss Maisel. Okay.
Yes.
The Opposition.
The Opposition.
Okay.
President Show.
Oh.
Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
You did?
Yeah, that was
God.
my first like big job, was writing for Triumph, which was very fun.
Very popular.
To write for a puppet dog.
Dog.
Like just like writing for, I was like, this is the most fun I'm ever going to have writing. A bunch of other things that like got canceled or didn't go, or a ton of pilots that never got picked up.
You're like a not starter on an NBA team, which is like very hard position to get to of all the millions of people that try out. So that's still fucking awesome.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
Yes,
that's a very good way of positioning it.
I also, a coworker this morning said to me that I'm very nice. And I said, no, I'm specifically nice to certain people. And that is, and I'm thankful that you picked me. I was like, I like her. I love her. I'm like,
yeah,
she knows her shit. That's the type of people that you should have around you. Like,
absolutely.
Who do you surround yourself with? People that lift you up, or do you have like a couple of stragglers where you're like, He looks homeless most of the time, but I'll keep him around,
People who like are passionate about the things that they like whatever that is. Like even if that's different things from what I like, as long as like you really like it and it's not like, oh, I'm just doing like what, like, if somebody was like just doing comedy cynically and like didn't give a shit, I'd be like, well, I can't really like connect to you in this way. But if they were like loved, I don't know, even like somebody who's just like really passionate about a sports team, I'm like, at least you have something you like. I need you to like things. Like as much as I think that like I usually am dictate like my personality. Also, we're talking about liking things, and it's making me understand how much I say the word like as like inserting into sentences where it doesn't belong. I think that like even though I probably come off as sometimes kind of negative or cynical or judgy, it's because I really like certain things. And I think that what I like in other people and I'm attracted to as just like as partners and as friends is liking things.
I agree. I
also should like things.
I think that some people, well, first of all, I feel like you're very thoughtful. I get the same thing. I'll be in my head and then I'll have like a distant face that, I mean, for me, sometimes I look really cunty is what I say about myself, but maybe you get that too, but they're like, it's not personal. We're just in our heads.
Thinking.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. I'm always thinking about myself. Basically, is what that comes down to.
But it's also, if you have an opinion about something, which you do, typically, most of the time, you're not offended if someone has an opposite opinion or has like a really strong passion about the other side, right? It's like something.
Yeah, I mean, unless that's like something where it's like, I don't think women should get paid as much as men. Like then I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna have to have an actual argument about this. But like, if I'm like, yeah, vanilla milkshake is better than chocolate, and someone's like, actually, chocolate is better, and here's why I think that. I'm like, okay, like we could coexist. That's fine. Like you're allowed to have different opinions.
Why the fuck do you think that vanilla is in the top 3 flavors? It is not.
Good vanilla is
such as
well, like Van Leeuwen ice cream. I think.
Oh well,
that
is great. That's
and I'm also not a huge ice cream person, so I probably am coloring my opinion of ice cream flavors with the fact that I don't really love ice cream very much. But like really good vanilla is very complex flavor, and I really like it in a lot of things. And sometimes it's just like strip away. Like I love a crazy Ben and Jerry's flavor as much as the next person, or like a wild like Jenny's like savory cream cheese, everything bagel, whatever. Like I'll try anything, but like at the end of the day, we strip it all away and you have really good ingredients to make, like vanilla is delicious.
I think it's a nice complement to things. So I guess I would agree with you. Yes. And Van Leeuwen's is the best ice cream.
It is so good. It is so good.
It's so good.
I burned the living shit out of the roof of my mouth last week and could not eat anything. Like I truly like, I was like, everything hurts. I couldn't eat anything acidic. I couldn't eat anything crunchy. I was like, I can't. So I literally just bought a vanilla ice cream from Van Leeuwen and I was like, this works.
How'd you burn the roof of your mouth?
I like made this like baked feta with chickpeas. And like I ate one of the chickpeas first and they weren't that hot because like chickpeas don't heat up to the same temperatures that cheese can. So I was like, oh, this is fine. And so then I like put a little bit of cheese on bread and like bit into it. And it's just like, it had been like right under the broiler and then like directly into my mouth like 3 minutes later. And I was like, oh, well, like, what did I think? But like, it was one of those things where like the second it happened, I knew what was happening, but like I was like, no, I could like hear it searing. It was like so painful. I think it was like it took a week to heal. It was like a 2nd-degree burn.
Oh my God.
So I ate ice cream for a couple days, which is why I was tweeting about vanilla because it's all I could eat.
And then I went through all the comments in that tweet and every person that wrote mint chip, I was like, I like you.
I love mint chip.
I love mint chip.
I love mint as a dessert flavor.
Me too. It settles your stomach.
Yeah. It's like a nice and it's such an end note to a meal. I really like it.
My aunt, who is my favorite, she is a hospice nurse, and she was like, I have to tell you, I give my patients peppermint schnapps. I was like,
yeah, fine.
Good.
If I'm in hospice, you better be giving me like booze and weed and like just let me kind of ride out the end.
Happy, smiling.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And she goes, so just do that. And I was like, okay, but
Just do that?
just like if I have a stomach ache. And I was like,
Oh, I see.
I'm gonna just wait it out, I think, instead of
I'll probably
adding
just
alcohol.
try ginger ale. Yeah.
Maybe
Start small.
Burp a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
Figure it out. I'm not dying. Oh God. Okay, so you were alone romantically.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how. Like, no Bumble, no.
You know, so at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like I felt very just like, I mean, I wasn't seeing my friend. I was, very locked down. And then like, as like things started kind of being like, all right, well, you can be outside safely, whatever. I had like two of my friends, like one is a guy that years and years ago I had slept with, very drunk, but like still have kind of been like, we run into each other a bunch and like he's lovely and we're friends and it's never been weird. So then like the three of us just started like hanging out a lot because like we were all people who lived alone and
you
were
had, like,
single in the pandemic. So it was like
quarantined.
kind of this like, it was kind of this like, okay, well the three, we were like kind of like a little pod for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like things like with him, I was like, oh, is there like something here? And like it just kind of kept going. And I was like, this has to reach sex. Like this has to like get back to sex. I feel like at some point, like also like I'm alone. We've been safe. Like you're the only person I see. Like also we've had sex or like I don't understand. And then like it kind of never did. And for probably a variety of different reasons on both of our sides. And then I was like, well, fuck this. Now it's like, the fall and like the numbers were getting bad again. And I was like, I've wasted all this time on this loser. I mean, he's also like, he was a friend of mine. So it's like, not like what a waste of time, but ultimately like I didn't get laid and that was a problem. I joined over the summer when a friend of mine got on the apps. I like got on Hinge for like a minute being like, well, maybe this is what I'll do. Go on some outside dates and then like trust someone enough to fuck them. And like, I didn't really get a lot of matches. I've never been someone who's like felt comfortable on the apps personally. Not like it just like isn't something that I've enjoyed or spent a ton of time doing.
Right.
And then there was one guy who like we matched and we had really good banter. And I was like, okay, all right, maybe this. And he worked for like the CDC, which I was like, LOL. Great. I'm like, well, you're taking it seriously. So I feel comfortable like going out with you. And we were like, texting for a while. Like he was like, can I please take you out for a drink this week? And I was like, I would love that. And we were just like texting. We were going to make plans, but then we got sidetracked just kind of like chatting. And then like, he just like casually dropped, what did he say? He was like, we were talking about cookbooks and he was like, oh, I know this woman who's a cookbook editor and she told me how the sausage gets made. Also, I fucked her, so I guess that's a triple entendre. And I was like, I don't think so. And then that was like the last thing we said. I was like, dude, we haven't even met yet, and you need to drop like women you've fucked. And like, I don't think that you're my husband, but like, where is the like? Can you at least pretend?
Was it Matt Gates? Was it?
Yeah, he's like, and she was 17. And,
oh yeah,
it was just like, and I was just like, it just turned me. I was like, you know what? I like am not interested in like dating right now enough to put up with this kind of shit. Like I was just kind of like, let's get through the pandemic and then I'll like take dating more seriously. So I just kind of gave up and deleted the app after like a month and was like, I'll just wait.
Yeah,
it's not worth this.
Picked two people off of social media. Well, I picked one person and then one person picked me. And I was stuck in Myrtle Beach for a while and for like 7 weeks. So I was completely quarantined, didn't see a soul for that whole time. Oof. It was rough. And then I started talking to this dude that I thought was cute on Facebook. And I wrote him and I said, you looked familiar, but turns out I don't know you. And then he wrote back. I was like,
it's a good line.
Thanks. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I should have been a man. And so we chatted and then I finally came back and we had like FaceTime during the day. He's here.
He was back in New York. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he's in Greenpoint. And lawyer, I was like, oh, this on paper, this is good. This is a good thing. And then I get back to town. We sleep together once. It was real weird. He used the same condom 3 times. And
I don't love that.
I hated it.
I don't know. Also, I didn't know you could do that.
I was like, what? What is happening? Like, did he take something? He's 40 something. I was like, what
Wow.
is going
All right.
on? And then the next day we were like texting back and forth, and I had a major Freudian slip at the end because he was like, I'm not really interested in a relationship right now. I was like, yeah, I don't want one either. Like, I don't, we're just trying to get through a pandemic, dude.
I hate the assumption that so many men make that like, if a woman has sex with you, it's because she's trying to lock you to. It's like, I also might just want to have sex with you and never see you again. Like, why don't you think that that's what I'm up to?
Yeah, I feel like both of us are pretty athletic. And I was like, it's hormone. We have things. We're like competitive human beings. That's part of the game. Just let us fuck. Yeah. And I said something. I was like, I said, I know you're not interested is what I wanted to say. But what I wrote was, I know you're not interesting. And
That's a pretty brutal thing to receive if you don't know that it's a typo. It's just like, I know you're not interesting. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go crawl under bed.
And he blocked me immediately. And I was like, no! I was like, that's so not what I was trying to say.
Right. But also, like, whatever.
I know. I was like, who cares? Some low-level associate. Yeah, I know.
That's just a devastating. Like, I think I'd rather somebody be like, you're not hot than be like, you're not interesting.
I
like,
know.
that's like what I would say to somebody if I was truly so mad at them and I never wanted to see them again. I'd be like, you're not interesting.
I mean, that's something that I say to my boyfriend right now if the phone call isn't interesting enough. I'm like, this isn't interesting. Like, you're being boring.
Being boring. This isn't interesting, but you are not interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's like, rough.
Devastating.
That is rough. What's the worst thing that you've ever said in a breakup or in a relationship, do you think? Do you ever like look back and regret something?
I feel like I've definitely just I think that like, and maybe you will relate to this, but like, I think that sometimes when I'm in my head thinking about myself, but still talking to somebody, that I will say things that are that I think are just perfectly passive, like things I'm saying, but like the read people get on them is a different tone.
100%.
So I am sure, I can't like think of specific examples, but like, I think that like I can appear to be very like curt or short or like dismissive of things when I'm not paying attention. And
I 100% get that.
That like, if the roles were reversed and somebody was like talking to me like that, I'd probably be like, fuck you, listen to me. Like, but instead, like, I think that like people are like, all right, she's clearly hates me. I think that that's something I do in life in general. I think I've done that at work. I think I've done like that. That's like a problem that I should probably fix. But but I think that that's like, I don't know that I've said, like, I'm not like a big fighter. I'm very conflict averse. Like, instead, I'll just be like, okay, goodbye forever. And like, just never see someone again.
Me too. I do the same
get
thing.
Into a fight, which is why like a lot of my relationships are barely relationships because the first fight comes and I'm like, goodbye.
Oh my God.
I can't do this.
You need to talk to Thomas. Do you have a therapist? Do you talk to your therapist about this?
Not right now. I was like searching for someone right when the pandemic started. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to start with somebody over Zoom. And then now it's a year has passed. And I'm like, well, everything's gotten worse. So somebody has a big job to do.
I talked to Thomas Whitfield, Dr. Thomas Whitfield now, last week on the podcast. And you're doing the exact same thing that he just talked about in this last episode. Oh my God. It's crazy.
I'll have to listen.
I'm like seeing a mirror of myself. I'm like, oh, I do the same thing. I write really short emails because I only say what I need to say and then I hit send. And then I'll immediately get a phone call or a text and they're like, are you mad at me? I'm like, no, what do you need?
What?
I'm not coddling you. This is a business.
Yeah, you're not my pen pal. This is a work email. Like,
do you get that? Is that what you're talking about at work?
Yeah, it's like that kind. Yeah, or like somebody, you know, I don't know. Then there's jobs where I was like, I think I was just being a bitch because I didn't want to be there. It's real, like, and getting into fights over jokes and stuff like that. But I think in general, like, I can just be like, I'm an only child. And I don't like conflict. So like where
does the not liking conflict come from? Did your parents fight?
Probably being an only child.
Oh.
I have nobody. I feel like a lot of only children I know are pretty conflict averse because like I didn't practice fighting. Like
Mm.
siblings fight. Like I never, and like, my parents were paying attention to me. Like they parented me, but at the same time, like they weren't picking up on all of the like me kind of being like bitchy sometimes. So like to me, like nobody ever called it out. So then like now when I do it as an adult and people are like, "Hey, are you pissed?" And I'm like, "What?" Like and then I feel in trouble because I'm like, "Are you mad at me now?" And like it just like it terrifies me and it is something I need to learn how to do, which is fight because like fights happen, conflict exists.
Mhm.
Like everybody is not going to always be on the same page and I just like cannot process it. My parents fought a little, like a healthy amount, I think.
Yeah, my mom was a real screamer, and so my sister and I, we're both conflict averse because of that. We were like,
Yes.
you and we're snuggle buddies, and the rest of the world can fight if they want to, but we don't want it in our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I feel like those are like the two, either like experiencing a lot of like intense fighting or like having no frame of reference for fighting will make people the same kind of just like, no, thank you. I don't want to.
My boyfriend fights with his family. They're Puerto Rican. They fight like the Italians, the New Jersey show.
The
like,
Judisas?
yes, they fight like
Teresa,
crazy, and then they go, "Come on, you know I love you," and then they hug, and then it's over. I'm like, I would never talk to you
What?
again.
No. That's so foreign to me.
I
Like,
know. I watch it go down, and I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden they're hugging. I'm like, oh my God.
you're like, wasn't there just a fight? Like, shouldn't we all never see each other again?
Shouldn't I start blocking you guys from my phone? It's so weird. Yeah, they yell at each other a lot, and they get really passionate about the things. And I'm like, maybe I can learn something from this. Maybe this is like,
Yeah. That feels like a good learning experience.
yeah, like a forgiveness session. I don't know.
Yeah, something.
So last time you were on the show, you talked about how you don't want a long-term. I know that we just talked about having sex and everything. Do you feel like you don't want to have a long-term, or do you feel like you're just kind of scared to have a long-term relationship?
I mean, of course, like part of me is scared because I just sat here and talked about how I never want to have a fight with somebody. And that is a huge part of being in a long-term relationship with somebody is being able to fight and make up. Like,
Yes.
I understand that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, probably with the right person, I'm still like, I would be down for a long-term relationship at this. I think the pandemic has made me like more like, all right, I could like have someone in my life because this was pretty lonely and dark. As long as it's on like I'm very independent. Like I want to see someone once or twice a week. And then like I just have especially I mean like maybe not now when I have like nothing to do and I'm like, no, come over. But like in regular life, I feel I am someone who like likes having a lot of jobs. I like having a lot of friends. I like being busy. And I also really need and require a pretty intense amount of alone time. And like all of those things together just don't leave a lot of room for someone else. Now, I think like the right person that you meet, that you click with, like that you can fight with comes along and you can make room for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want children. So I think that's like a huge part of being like, well, what's the rush?
Right.
Like, I don't have a clock. Like, so I think that that's always been part of it. Like I'm kind of indifferent on children and marriage. So I'm just like, I don't know. Those things usually are what make people feel like they need a significant long-term relationship.
Oh, yeah.
More.
I got into my second marriage because I thought I wanted to have children immediately, and it didn't matter who I married. I was like,
Right.
He's tall and has a really rich family. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Done.
Those things are both pretty, understandandly important when you're thinking about children.
And then a few days in, I was like, whew, you are unbearable. I hate you.
Oh my God.
I'm giving up the idea of children altogether just to get away from you.
Yeah. I've made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people aren't having kids anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot, which is weird because like I have tons of friends who like over the last 18 months have decided to start families or had, a kid that they were planning on having already. But then I feel like I have a lot more friends, and maybe that's also just age. Like as you get older, you're more comfortable in your choice that you do or don't want children. So like more people feel confident saying, I don't want children. But I do feel like more and more people are not having kids. My friend pointed out something very funny because like it does feel like there are still a lot of pandemic babies happening. Like
Tons.
I feel like I have a lot of have friends that are having babies like soon or whatever, and that's like definitely from the pandemic start. And somebody was like, "Yeah, but no one's having their second kid in the pandemic." And I was after being like home with their kids for a year, and I was like, "Wow, that's very true."
That's very true. Yeah, even what my client this morning, she had a pandemic baby and she has 2 more embryos and she goes, "I got to figure out how to get rid of those." I was like, "Oh my God."
I bet.
This morning she was like, "Do you want my baby? I haven't slept in months." And I was like, "No, I don't want
No,
you."
I love sleeping.
I love sleep. I don't get enough sleep.
I know. I'm not even good at it. Like I feel like I have insomnia and lots of sleep problems, and I love sleep more than anything. So I'm not gonna let something else disturb it.
Yeah, I took an Ambien 2 weeks ago and I woke up when it was light out and I was like, fuck, I'm late for everything. But also, that was amazing. I was like,
Yeah.
not even mad. I was like, I
Yeah.
missed 3 clients. Who cares?
Yeah. Just like undisturbed long sleep is, I think, so rare. Like, at least for me, it's very rare. So when it happens, I'm just like, I feel like I just did drugs. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I take hard naps during the day. Do you take naps?
Oh, I'm not really a nap I nap when I have my period. I'm usually so drained that like I will just like fall asleep in the middle of the day, cannot function.
Do you have PCOS?
What's that? No.
Or PMDD?
Or yes.
Polycystic ovary syndrome?
Oh, I don't know. I
Ovarian
have
syndrome?
terrible periods, and I'm sure
Maybe you have PMDD then.
it seems possible.
You should get that checked out.
Very tired. I'm probably I feel like I'm going to end up passing out for like 24 hours when I get the vaccine. I just have a feeling that like it'll knock me out.
Did you have COVID?
No, I did not. Thank God.
People that have had it, I heard, have a very bad reaction to it.
Yeah, I've heard that if you've had it, it's like a way worse reaction, the word you said. So I'm very like grateful on many fronts that I did not have COVID and going into getting the shot. I feel like, all right, well, I'm sure it'll knock me out, but hopefully it won't be too bad.
Okay, so you actually do have to get to your vaccine appointment, but can you give us like the top 3 restaurants that you would suggest in New York?
Oh man. I mean, that's such a hard question because it really depends. I will always shout out my neighborhood Italian restaurant that I'm obsessed with, Rucola. It's in Borum Hill, which is where I live. It is just like my absolute favorite. Like I could go there at any time. The food is always good. It's like a tiny little private owned neighborhood place that has like another wine bar a few blocks away. If you're in Borum Hill, eat at Rucola. There's only like 10 seats, like normally.
Whoa.
So they are like, I guess we'll open for indoor dining. Here is one table. Like it's so small. I just don't know like what they've survived. So I'm pretty happy. Pizza from Scar's Pizza, truly the best. It's on the Lower East Side. Chinatown-ish. They have the pepperoni. That's the tiny, like super small, crispy ones that like kind of become cups of oil. I guess I don't even really like pepperoni. It would never be my topping of choice on a pizza, but there I like can't not. It's like Prince Street pizza, but better. I love Servos and Hearts and The Fly. They're like a restaurant group that has they have like a Portuguese-ish seafood place on the Lower East Side, and then they turned their place near me into a grocery store during the pandemic because it is also very small. So they're not going to be able to.
Is that where you're getting all your charcuterie goods?
Yeah, it's where I buy all of my like fancy treats and stuff like that. So Hearts and Servos and The Fly is their restaurant that just does rotisserie chicken and French fries. And it's so good.
Oh, I hope New York restaurants make it. Like
I know. I feel like I have no idea how the business works or like where all the independents are on like what they're surviving on. But like, I feel like we've made it that if you've made it this far, my hope is that like, this is like that but I'm still so worried and we don't know what's going to happen. And like, you know, it could take a really long time to get to 100% indoors. And I feel like that's when everybody's margins will be back to normal. And that just might be a while. And I'm worried.
And even at 100%, they're not raking in the dough.
Oh, no. It's still like razor thin, but like at least hopefully enough to stay. I know. Though I do know that like a bunch of comedy venues that I was worried about have survived. Union Hall, Littlefield, the Bell House, like those are all reopening.
Really?
I
wasn't sure about Bell. I was like, oh no. I don't even want to know.
But it's like, what could possibly go? Like, what could that building be used for besides exactly what it is? Like, huge comedy shows that are either going to be packed or feel empty.
The shit that we did just to keep going during this thing is incredible.
I know.
I really wanted to get more into your dating life, but also I didn't want to jinx what you have going. So,
oh, sure. I mean, like, who fucking knows? And I feel like the world is going to open up in a way that I'm just like, whatever happens, like, this is going to be better than the last 16 months. So.
Well, I just feel like everybody has had either something super magical or they just became so depressed and within themselves that they didn't allow anything good to happen over this pandemic. I'm like, this could be something huge and great for you to like learn and grow.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, I'm just so alone. You're like, okay, come on.
Ugh, no, it's like, yeah, personally, I'm like, I buckled down and stayed by myself just because it like seemed like an easier, like lowest amount of work for me to do. Like, I was like, not going to try and like I have friends who were doing like a million video and like walking dates. And I was like, I don't have that in me. And then once I had surgery, I was like the year, like from January to like, very recently, I was like not leaving I was still recovering. So like now I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's see some people. Let's do some stuff. So I'm like ready.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw there's people here because they're doing they're going to shoot a commercial in a little bit. And I've seen like some heads from the studio. And you would have thought that I saw Santa Claus. I was like, oh my God, hello.
I know. Anytime I've seen someone who like is from my like pre-pandemic, because like obviously I've seen like a couple of my friends that like we've been pods or like, eat outside or whatever. But like whenever I see like especially like a comedy friend who I haven't seen since before the pandemic, like in person now, I just lose my shit. Like I'm just like, oh my God, remember we used to stand at the back of a bar and we could do that again soon.
Every comic that I've had on here, if I do like a trail of like 3 in a row, or a train of 3 in a row, everybody stays the whole time. Like the first guest stays through the rest, and they're like, "Can I just hang out?" I'm like, "Yes."
I know. I miss hangs. We're gonna start hanging again.
I know, it's so soon. Okay, so great to see you.
So good to see you.
Oh my God.
So fun to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, if everybody wants to see a very amazing Instagram and keep up with Alison, it's Alison Leiby, A-L, 2 L's? 1 L.
1 L.
That's what I thought. ALISONLIEBY?
EI.
Damn it!
EI.
Use
ALISONLEIBY.
She'll also be tagged in our Happy Never After post. That's probably your best bet. Dude, go get fucked.
Yeah. Excited.
All right, thanks so much. I will talk to you guys next week. Later.
Bye.